Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to another episode of All Things Iliast. Hope you've been well and have been fulfilled and happy. And we are back with another episode. Not as consistent, obviously, but we try to do it whenever we have the time. And by we, I mean the royal we. Well, actually, I don't mean that. I mean just myself. I've been busy doing not anything else. I've just been lazy. So here we are, just making sure that I'm recording, which I am. I've got a few things to talk about, obviously. Today, I'll keep it a bit short, not as long as last week. Will save me some time with editing as well. So I've got a few things to share. On the way back from work, there was this lady in her Honda Odyssey driving, and I was right behind her in my car. And she swerved like a little bit, which is okay. I mean, it's not really okay. But she swerved, but she was still in her lane from side to side, and I am thinking she is distracted. Now I can see the back of her head, and I can see her itching herself. But then I could also see like two arms just doing this. So I'm confused. I'm like, what's happening? Am I in danger? Are we all going to be in a car crash because something weird is happening in this car? And then I realized those arms in the back were actually her kid. I just couldn't see the kid's head, and that's okay. But I could still see her the whole time. She's just itching herself. And I'm behind her for at least like 5 minutes. And she's doing this, and doing this, and doing this, and this. And then the traffic comes to a stop because the light was red. And this is like 4:30, 4:45, so it's a bit packed. And I am supposed to turn right, and she's in front of me, and there's this huge gap, but she wouldn't move. She's still itching herself. Go take a shower, dude. Have you heard of a bath lady? Just go home, leave your kids with someone you trust, and just properly, just I don't know if it's the sun, if it's the allergies, whatever it is, it's impeding your ability to drive. So my request to you is take a shower or get it fixed. Please and thank you. I'm not sure if you can maybe tell or not, but I'm a bit agitated at the moment. But we also got some good news that keeps you sort of a bit entertained. So, as you're all aware, well, most of you would be aware that Pakistani country is celebrating their first Olympic gold with pride and joy, with Arshad Nadeem making history and doing really well for his country. Consequently, Pakistan cricket went, are you guys happy and entertained and proud of your accomplishments? How is this nation, while we exist, is able to celebrate anything? So they said, watch this. And they got whitewashed at home against Bangladesh. Isn't that just great? Pakistan cricket went, put your hands in the air and break your wrist. And the full way, huh? Like there's not a low that we don't touch. And I think this is a part of the game that also makes it really exciting. Some people would actually maybe just, being masochists, might enjoy being fans of the Pakistan cricket. But imagine that. Nothing to take away from Bangladesh, obviously. I'm sure they've played really well. I haven't really been following much. I just saw the news. Lost the first one, I laughed. Lost the second one, I laughed even harder. It's sad what it has come to, but here we are. And that's Pakistan cricket for you. Now, apart from that lady who was scratching herself in her car, I followed the Arsenal versus Brighton game. I don't usually watch football games or any sports because I personally believe that I am a bad omen. If I support a team, I have to watch it from afar. I have to jump in, probably search up on Google once in a while, check the updates or the tweets, and then create some distance between myself and the actual game. Anything that I touch, any team that I support, if I get invested in watching the game, they are bound to lose. And that's a fact. And I'm okay with that. So I check into the game, the updates, and I think it's um, the end of the first half. Arsenal is 1 up. The goal scored by Kai Havertz. And I look at it and I go, cool. And then I'm doing something else. And then they come back for the second half after the break, after halftime. And within a few minutes, there's a red card. And Declan Rice gets sent off. And of course he does, because I started watching or staying updated with the game. So I did that, obviously. But when it comes down to the facts, what really happened was he was sent off with a second yellow for impeding the play, which is regarded as the time-wasting tactic. Now, the consistency here is in shambles. I'm sure it's been talked about already, and I'm probably a week late by the time I upload this. However, this is shocking. In the first half, Pedro kicks away the ball. There's no action taken. There's no card. And the incident which he was carded for, he received a yellow card, a second yellow card and a subsequent red, is insane. The ball's still moving. Veltman kicks it. It rolls and it hits the back of Rice's ankle. He looks at it and he makes contact with the ball. While this is happening, Veltman he throws a haymaker kick onto Rice's leg and he's on the ground. The referee comes in. He looks at that and he gives him a second yellow card. This is atrocious. With the additional angles revealed with this as well, you see Danny Welbeck approaching the ref and directing him in a way, saying that this is a second yellow. You're not allowed to do that. But he got away with it. There were so many calls made against Arsenal and not Brighton, which makes it biased. And anyone sitting at home and the rival fans who've been arguing about this is something the ref had to do, you're being absolute hypocrites and you know it. Someday this is going to happen to you as well. And I hope it does, and then you get impacted. You can be happy about, like dropped points by Arsenal, but we know this, that the inconsistency is like cancer to the game. So many calls in the recent past, I can count them from the top of my head. The Kovacic escape from the red card last season when Arsenal played Man City. The Ivan Toney's goal when they forgot to draw any offside lines. The Gordon goal against when they were playing Newcastle last year as well as Douglas Luiz's challenge on Gabriel Jesus, in which a penalty was denied for Arsenal when they lost to Aston Villa. This is a few examples of the inconsistency that have costed this team points. And you can sit and you laugh because you're not at the receiving end of it. But come on, let's be honest here. And for Arsenal fans who've been arguing about, well, Rice should have the awareness to not do it or not engage in it. Come on, man, it's a game, obviously. If we are intending to make the game fair, it should be fair for everyone. The incompetence here, it's hard to not categorize it as malicious. The inconsistency makes it hard to not see it as malicious. And that's my point of view. Rant's over. Thank you very much. I've also been following the Paralympics. I just saw a picture of an American archer called Matt Stutzman, who has no arms, and he's an archer. And he's really good. I think he's won a gold. I'm not sure. I just saw his photo and I went, my God. As I talked about in my last podcast, the human capability, the human ability is insane. Now imagine being in the olden times, being a knight in your armor, and you're in the battlefield, and they roll this guy in somehow, or the guy just like comes in, he's got no arms. And you're thinking to yourself in your armor, you're confused, but also you sort of find it amusing. You're like, well, what's happening here? What's this guy going to do? and then the guy just he finds a spot, he gets his bow out, his arrows out, and then he just shoots you right in the neck, and then you're dead. That's this guy. Imagine the skill you would have to just unleash your armless archers onto the field, onto the battlefield. Firstly, it's confusion for the enemy. They would be like, what's happening? They wouldn't know what's happening. And the second is, again, the insane human ability to just be able to do anything. For them to just use their feet to shoot arrows at you. If I was a king, I would have a special force with people who will have these special abilities, because that's what I want to watch. The Olympics itself is fine. I haven't really watched it as much. I've watched it here and there, but the Paralympics, it's where it's at. That's the human ability. Or I think, and if people have said that numerous times online, there should be a version of I just said version. My V's and W's are just, not the best. But anyways, back to the point. There should be a version of the Olympics where people are allowed to take as many PEDs and steroids as they can to really determine the max level of human ability or human body to be able to perform those actions. Just get all juiced up and see how we go. And to conclude this, a lot of my time recently in the last week and a half, 2 weeks, has been invested in playing a life-changing video game called Red Dead Redemption 2. And I am aware of the fact that I am probably quite late, maybe 8 years too late, talking about this, but I always intended to play it. So I finally played it. And I'm on chapter 4. And let me tell you, I am hooked. I love it. I go to work, I think about it. I come home, I think about it. I at least try to play it an hour every day and a few hours on the weekend. I can't get enough of it. It's a little unhealthy, maybe, but am I too old to be acting like this? I probably am, and I understand that. But here we are, and I can't stop but think about it. And the voice inside my head now is changed to a Southern American accent. Howdy, mister. Nice folks around here, mister. Good day to you, mister. And I feel like I'm Arthur Morgan myself. And I go on Reddit and I explore Red Dead Redemption 2 subreddits, and I've been reading them. For sometimes, I think it's not a good thing because now I know the spoilers of the game, but I don't really care. I do go to them and read through, see, because this is my first experience. I want to sort of read through and maximize whatever I can do in the game. So if there's any horses I can find, any gold I can get. And when you go through these subreddits, you read through it, and then you go deep. You start getting deeper. And you come across a post like, Arthur Morgan helped me become a better man. And you start to read it, in which some guy's talking about, I didn't often shower as much, and then I played the game, so I took care of Arthur. And by taking care of Arthur, I implemented those habits in real life. Now, at one hand, this is a really good thing. On the other hand, brother, this is a video game. And I read it, and I've been reading. There was another post saying something about like Arthur as well, and how there was a drunk guy, and the guy writing like the post said that I'm always an introvert, but after playing Red Dead Redemption 2, there was a drunk guy hassling someone in the store, and I jumped in like Arthur would, and I told him to knock it off. And that's when you realize that you gotta get out of these, you gotta go back to whatever you were doing and not open up these posts or the subreddits. When it becomes that deep, that's a sign for me to say, I have read enough and I don't think I can hang around here anymore. I have to go. Because sometimes, I think there was someone on Joe Rogan's podcast way back in the day when I used to listen to it, was saying that their uncle had schizophrenia, like someone in their family had it. And then what they would do is they would have the radio on and they would have the telly on with the volume on zero. And they would watch the telly as they would hear the radio. And the guy on the podcast says that, and I would go and hang out with them often, with him. And he says, one day I was sitting and hanging out with him, and I realized that the audio from the radio and the visuals from the telly started to make sense. And that's when I realized I need to leave. And I find that really interesting. So, similar case with me as well. Once you go into the deeper level of these subreddits, you realize that not everything is for you, and you have to create some distance. With that being said, I hope you enjoy this sort of like a random rant episode. And you be well, you be good, and I shall see you in the next one.